about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's be free with Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out, die with my own doubts. Be free.
Good evening, everyone. It's Jim here. Welcome to our latest AQA GCSE Geography live revision session. We've got Suzanne, bottom left, Brendan, top right, Alice, bottom right. Suzanne, sorry, I forgot. You said we were in the rainforest today. Just let me get that sorted out. That's better. That's much more authentic. What have we got? Anybody else got any rainforest-themed props for this week?
There's loads of leaf litter on the floor.
Oh, my word.
All over the place.
Who's that, Suzanne? Fantastic. How are we doing? We all set?
Ready to go?
Yeah.
Suzanne at the minute is muted, so I'm hoping that she will unmute herself, because I think Suzanne is going to... yes, you're... Suzanne, we can't hear you.
Sense, doesn't it?
Suzanne, do you want to give us a flavour for the session, and then let's crack on with some rainforest stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. So just wanted to welcome. It's really nice to see some old names come back on the chat there, and also some new ones coming in. Thank you to Alice and Brendan again for joining us for the tropical rainforest today. We're going to play some familiar games that you might have played before, but also we've got some new ones in the mix. Hopefully you caught in the chat right at the beginning that it would be really good if you had some kind of calculator or mobile phone with you, because one of the questions that we're going to be having a look at will require you probably to do calculations unless you can do them in your head. We're going to play some great interactive games. The more you contribute to the chat, the more fun it will be. We're going to have another connection wall. We've got a really fun game of higher and lower. We've got some matching tasks and, of course, those calculations. So I think we might be ready. Thank you. Right, so our first game is actually thinking about whether the tropical rainforest that appears next is going to be smaller or larger. So we're going to start off with Borneo, which is the tropical rain. Size of this is, we're going to have the reveal, brilliant, 220,000 kilometers squared. So reveal number one is the Congolese tropical rainforest in Africa. Now, this covers the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Cameroon, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, and Central African Republic. Do you think this is going to be higher or lower in size to the Borneo tropical rainforest? So pop your answers in the chat. Is it higher or is it lower? I'm going to wait to see who's going to get it first. Do you think that rainforest is going to be higher or lower? Okay, we've got one coming in straight away. Oh, yeah, a few coming in here. Right, I can see we've got some answers coming in. Again, some new names and some familiar names. Thank you very much for all your responses. So look, should we have a check and see, is the Congolese tropical rainforest? It is in fact much larger. It's 1.7 million kilometers squared. Right, now we need to decide, is the Congolese tropical rainforest either larger or smaller? So is it higher in number or lower in number than the Daintree tropical rainforest in Australia? Now, this is in the northeastern tip of Australia in Queensland. So pop in, do you think it's going to be higher? Is the number going to be higher than the Congolese tropical rainforest? Is it going to be lower? Well, I've got lots of coming in. Yeah, I've got quite a few coming in here. Thank you. I think Jazzy Bazzy was first there. Sean Sajan. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so it is in fact low. It's smaller. It's only 1,200 kilometers squared. So big question now. Hopefully this is going to be quite a quick one. Do you think the Amazon tropical rainforest in South America is larger or smaller? So are you going to go higher? Are you going to go lower? Yeah, I think it has tutored to you. Yeah, I've got quite a lot coming in now. So let's reveal. It is, in fact, the largest tropical rainforest in the world, covering 5.5 million kilometers squared. So it's higher. So finally, what do you reckon about New Guinea tropical rainforest in Southeast Asia? Is that going to be larger or is that going to be smaller? So higher or lower? Yeah, well done, Louisa. And shall we have the reveal? Thank you. Is in fact lower, only 288,000 kilometers squared. Fantastic. Right. I'm now going to pass over to Brendan, who's going to look at some of these calculations. So get your calculators at the ready.
Brendan, do you want to unmute yourself for this session, please?
Thank you very much, Suzanne. So we're moving on to have a look at some more numbers now. We're looking at the calculation countdown. So the following figures you can see there are for the amount of rainforest, tropical rainforest, that's been lost in the last 5 years. So you've got the figures there for 3 years, 2020, 2019 and 2018. So your task, and you've got a generous minute to work it out, is to calculate the average, the mean average rate of deforestation in kilometers squared. Off you go. So if you're feeling brave, you could perhaps try and calculate that in your head. So we're looking for the mean average rate of deforestation in square kilometers over those years. We've got quite a few answers coming in that are looking promising. That's all I will say. If you break up the numbers a bit, you can do them in your head, but calculator's fine. So, 5 seconds to go till we reveal the correct answer. And the correct answer there is 9,584 kilometers squared, which is roughly about halfway between the size of our two largest counties in this country. So that's the first one. Next calculation we're going to do is that the Amazon rainforest is 5.5 million kilometers squared in area. It's predicted that deforestation rates could reduce this by 30% by 2030. So if that's the case, by 2030, how many million kilometers squared would be left? How much rainforest would remain in 2030? Off you go, you've got a minute. So we've got some good answers coming in, mainly good answers expressed in slightly different ways, but they are all looking quite promising. So 10 seconds left. If you haven't had a chance to work this out already, try and calculate how much rainforest would remain in 2030. Okay, the answer to that one is 3.85 million square kilometers. Well done if you got that right, and I think most people did. Well done. Let's have a look at the next calculation. So this one is to do with climate, and you need to be able to look at climate data, especially if it's in a climate graph. Hopefully you know how to draw climate graphs. But for Manaus in Brazil, the minimum temperature is 28.5 degrees Celsius. The maximum temperature is 31.3 degrees Celsius. Can you calculate the temperature range? Go. Some pretty good and lots of good answers approaching. Well done. If you've managed to work that out already, you could have thinking about other places in the world that have a similar temperature range and why that would be. Okay, we are just about to reveal the answer, which is 2.8 degrees Celsius, and there were lots of correct answers there. So that narrow temperature range, is a very small range indeed, would be the kind of thing you'd expect to find in Central Africa, also in Southeast Asia, places like Malaysia, Singapore, and so forth. And that's really how the biodiversity there really likes that. It likes that steady temperature that doesn't really change all year round. Okay, moving on from the calculations to the layers of the rainforest with Alice.
Thank you, Brendan. Okay, so we've got these 4 layers of the rainforest in a diagram, and they are labelled A, B, C, and D. And then we have some names towards the right-hand side there: forest floor, canopy layer, understory, and emergence. And the question is, can you match up the letters and the numbers, and then put that in the chat for me, please? So if you thought A was the canopy layer, you'd put A2 in the chat. Just waiting for a few answers to come in here, trying to match up the letters and the numbers to correctly label the diagram. Thank you to people who are sending their answers in now. We've got quite a few coming in now, and a lot of them, as Brendan would say, are looking promising. Have a go. Okay then, Jim, let's reveal the answers. Thank you. Brilliant. So at the top of the rainforest, we've got A4 was the correct answer, the emergent layer, which are the tallest trees. They could be up to 60 meters in height. And this is because, as Brendan was saying, we've got year-round warm conditions, we've got a lot of rain, it's the perfect growing conditions for plants. But because we need to know about the characteristics of this ecosystem, we need to know it's actually a complex ecosystem, and we've got layers of vegetation. So below the emergent layer, we've got the canopy layer, B2 in the chat. Lots of people got that right, and that forms almost like the ceiling of a tent, hence the name canopy layer, and that's the layer that animals can use to move around within the rainforest. Then we have the understory below that, and the forest floor potentially wouldn't have quite so much vegetation on it as the cartoon shows. We might have more sort of fungi and plants that can cope with actually very little sunlight, because remember, those plants in the rainforest are densely packed in to make the most of the intense sunlight year round. Thank you, Jim. Let's have a look at true and false. Okay, so we've got a series of true and false questions here. You need to look at the statement and tell me in the chat if it's true or if it's false. So tropical rainforests experience a small range in temperature throughout the year. What do you think? We may have given you a clue in an earlier question. That's it, have a go. Well done. And those people that said the answer was true were absolutely right. Yeah, paying attention, small temperature range, lots of sunlight, lots of solar insolation year round. Thank you. Next question. The tallest layer in the tropical rainforest is the main canopy. What do you think? We've just seen a diagram. Is that true or is that false? The tallest layer in the tropical rainforest is the main canopy. Lots of people having a go. Well done. To Kira, to Sean, to Asia, well done. And the answer is false. We just heard there's the emergent layer, which arguably is a little bit broken up, isn't it? Because it's made up of the tallest trees that sort of poke through the main canopy, but that is the tallest layer, not the main canopy. Thank you. Next question. Commercial farming poses the greatest threat to the tropical rainforest. Is that true or is that false? Commercial farming poses the greatest threat to the tropical rainforest. What do you think? Have a go, get those answers in the chat before we reveal the answer. Okay, some people giving us context for different places in the world. And the answer is, commercial farming is the greatest threat to the tropical rainforest. Clearly, there are a range of threats that are leading to its deforestation, but actually commercial farming is the biggest threat. We might classically think about something like beef cattle farming in the Brazilian Amazon, or the plantation production of palm oil in the Malaysian rainforest. Next question, please. Tropical rainforests are located between 15 degrees and 35 degrees north and south of the equator. Is that true or is that false? What do we think? Thank you to those people who are giving us a bit more detail on the last question as well. Okay, and if you said the answer was false, you'd be absolutely right. 15 degrees to 35 degrees north and south of the equator is closer to the sort of distribution of hot deserts, which of course we aren't looking at this week, but we'll be looking at in a couple of weeks' time. Next question, please. Okay, leaves in the shrub layer of the tropical rainforest are a deeper green as they have more chlorophyll for photosynthesis. So thinking about plant adaptations, is this a valid adaptation that we see in the tropical rainforest? What do you think? Ah, we may have foxed a few people here. Okay, let's have the reveal of the answer, please. So in fact, it is true. Some plants in the lower shrub layer are a deeper green to try and make the most of the small amount of sunlight that reaches them at those lower layers. So that is an adaptation that perhaps some of you had not heard of before. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Brendan for a 3, 2, 1 activity. You may need pens and paper at the ready.
Many thanks, Alice. So we're going to look at 3, 2, 1, which means you've got to think of 3 things about something, then 2 things about something, then 1 thing about something. And I will say in advance, there could be answers that we give you later which may still be correct or may not be correct. Okay, so we'll have a look at that now. The 3 things you've got to do in 2 minutes, 2 things you've got to do and 1 thing you've got to do. So you've got to think of 3 causes of deforestation, 2 plant adaptations, and 1 way in which the tropical rainforest can be sustainably managed. Off you go. So remember, it's 3 causes of deforestation, 2 plant adaptations, and 1 way in which the tropical rainforest can be sustainably managed. So if you try and arrange your answers, preface them by 3, 2, and 1. We've got some really very good answers coming in, lots of excellent answers. Safe sword saying darn, pen and paper, but there is always, well, try and keep the ideas in your head as best you can, and we can have a look at those later. It's also impressive to see quite a bit of detail in 1 or 2 of these answers as well. Go for it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, let's have a look at some answers. And these are possible answers. There may be other options you could use, but basically the 3 main causes of deforestation are generally considered to be farming, logging, and mineral extraction. So digging for gold or copper and these sorts of things. I think other valid answers could be if you had things like climate change or infrastructure building, that's things like roads and railways and so forth. Okay, let's look at the 2 plant adaptations. So once again, there are other options you could have used, but drip tips would be 1, where plants often have very pointed leaves, and the idea is to shed as much water from the upper part of the plant as possible to avoid it from becoming top heavy and just keeling over. Then buttress roots are very wide splayed roots. They often say with some of the rainforest trees, the roots grow horizontally, often as far as they do vertically. There would be another option you could have had there. For example, you could have said epiphytes, but those two will be fine. Okay, let's have a look at the last one, which was one way of sustainably managing the tropical rainforest. So a very good answer would be to have selective logging. You could possibly have added something like agroforestry, where you have a sort of combination of sustainable, low scale, not commercial agriculture, and the trees can survive in that sort of situation. So thanks for those. Now we're going to move on to look at now the 60-second challenge. You have 60 seconds, you have a minute to match these key phrases to their definitions. So once again, pen and paper would be handy. Okay, let's have a look at the things you've got to match up. A, biodiversity, B, selective logging, C, stewardship, D, sustainability, and E, interdependence. Can you link A, B, C, D, E with the numbers on the right-hand side? Go. So we're approaching the halfway stage. You have to match the correct numbers with the letters on the left-hand side. So which things on the right match correctly with the letters, key terms on the left-hand side? You have 15 seconds left now. Got a lot of impressive, quick answers coming in. And we're going to reveal in 5 seconds that the correct answers to this challenge are as follows. A, biodiversity is the variety of life in the world or a particular habitat, number 2. So that's, when we say life, of course, that's plants and animals. B, selective logging is matched with number 5. That's the cutting down of trees, but leaving most to allow the forest to regenerate so that it's not permanently damaged. That's a sustainable measure, as we can see with one of the other answers. C is stewardship. This is the role of supervising and taking care of something to preserve its characteristics. And that's a very active way of looking after the rainforest. It's not a passive way like conservation might be termed as. D, sustainability. This is when we can act right now to meet the needs of the present, but we're without reducing the ability for future generations to meet their own needs. In other words, whatever you're doing, it can carry on into the future, unlike unsustainable approaches, which really can't carry on. And then finally, we have E, interdependence. This is the way in which organisms in an ecosystem rely on each other. So you're probably familiar with terms such as food chains, food webs, and the way they can be disrupted. You may also have learned about nutrient cycles in rainforests. So that's the 60-second challenge. And we're now back to Suzanne.
Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so this is a game some of you have played before, but I'll just explain what you look at these 16 different words. You need to work out how 4 of those words group together. So what I'd like to see in the chat, please, is you trying to work out what our first matching 4 might be. So I'm waiting here to see who's going to be the first one to spot a pattern. Oh, I've just got a connection lag comment. So what I need you to do is you need to put the 4 words together and tell me what the link is. So identify 4 words and what the link is. Okay, so we might need a clue. Yep, definitely. The first clue I'm going to say is something to do with plants. Okay, something to do with plants is the first clue. I've got some good answers coming in. Brilliant. Yep, Louisa, well done. You've got them there. Ben, you've jumped one on. Brilliant. Okay, and I can see Safe Source jump to even further. Right, so can we have the first reveal, please? So the first link, these are to do with plants. So these are all plant adaptations. So we've got thin bark. So the trees in the rainforest don't really need particularly thick bark because they don't need to protect themselves against the cold. Remember, it links in with that, the fact that there is a very narrow temperature range, and also they don't need to protect themselves against water loss, so they have very thin barks. The epiphytes there are non-parasitic plants which basically hitch a ride, so they grow high up in the canopy to try to get to the sunlight to photosynthesize, that element of competition. The prop and stilt roots, you can see there is another adaptation, and these are sort of the roots at the base which provide support very often in areas that are liable to flood. And lastly, the leaf angling is where the plant leaves have the ability to arrange themselves in different angles to try to maximize the very little sunlight that falls to the forest floor so that they can maximize photosynthesis effectively. Fab, right, so we've got another clue here. Someone's given me a fab clue here, which is Gershmel's diagram or Gershmel's model. So I'm going to say nutrient cycling is the next clue. So can you get the next 4 words? Let's see if you can get the next 4. Let's see if I've got some coming up. Ah, brilliant. Okay, we've got some coming in now. Right. Great stuff there. We've still got some really strong geographers with us today. Right, can I have the reveal, please? Fantastic. So there we've got decomposition. So bacteria and fungi will actually take the leaf litter and it decomposes. The fallout pathway. So there we have that part of the nutrient cycling model. We've got uptake by the plant roots, and last of all, leaching, which is the draining away of nutrients from the soil. Right, the next one, please. I'm going to say the clue is to do with animals. So see if you can get the 4 words. Brilliant. Well done, Louisa. Okay. I think we've got a few more coming in. Right. So can we have the reveal, please? Brilliant. Thank you very much. So we've got short pointed wings. This is because there's not a lot of space between the branches, so they need to be quite able to move themselves quite deftly, quite quickly in between all of the foliage. We've got camouflage, which obviously protect them from predators, ability to see in the low light levels, as we've talked about the fact that sunlight is quite difficult to get to the forest floor, and lastly, nocturnal, because it's slightly cooler at night. Right, so that leaves us with the last 4. Can anyone tell me on the chat, please, what links those 4 words together? What are they showing us? Yeah. What do you think they're showing us? They are indeed. Brilliant. Okay, so they are showing us the layers of the rainforest. Brilliant. Okay, now that leads us on to our next section. Whoa! We have a case study alert. So in this part of your syllabus, you need to know that you do have to have a specific case study. And it was really brilliant to see some people mentioning them earlier. I saw Malaysia mentioned as a case study. You need to know about the tropical rainforest, but you need to have a specific location, and you need to know about the causes of deforestation in that location. And you would need to make sure you've covered subsistence and commercial farming, that you've learnt about logging and any road building that might happen in that area, what mining has done, whether there's any energy development, so any hydroelectric power stations and any dams that have been built across rivers, and what population growth, what effect that is having in the area, and whether building more settlements or urbanizing the area is damaging the rainforest. You've also got to know about some economic benefits of development, and you also need to know some of the negatives. So soil erosion is mentioned, and also the contribution to climate change. So you must make sure that you cover your specific case study before you prep for any test you might be having in class with your teachers. Right, I'm now going to pass on to Alice, who's going to finish us off with our MCQs.
Thanks very much, Suzanne. Right, fast and furious, we've got a few MCQs for you. First up, what percentage of the world's animal species are found in the tropical rainforest? So think about that biome. What percentage? Is it 33%, 50%, 75%, or 25%? Have a guess. If you're not sure, have an educated guess. A few answers coming in now. We know it's a biodiverse place, this biome. And the answer is, if we could have that please, Jim, 50%. So 50% of mammals, birds, amphibians, reptiles, insects across the world are found in that single biome of the tropical rainforest. Good reason to protect it, perhaps. Question 2. Tropical rainforests absorb carbon dioxide and store it. What is the term given to this? Is it A, renewable, B, carbon capture storage, C, pollution filter, or D, carbon sink? So if it's storing carbon dioxide, what do geographers call it? Well done, Harold. Well done, Nitya. Absolutely right. They call it D, a carbon sink. Next question. Number 3, which medicine does not originate from the tropical rainforest? Is it A, quinine, which is a treatment for malaria, B, aspirin, an anti-inflammatory, C, paracetamol, a painkiller, or D, Lapacho, also for pain relief? Have a go. Don't worry, Safe Sword, keep having a go. So which of those might not come from the rainforest? This one's perhaps more of a guess. And the answer is, Jim, C, paracetamol. Now, the key learning point from this is that the rainforest is biodiverse, and therefore we need to protect it, to think about all those drugs that originate from this biome, and perhaps as yet undiscovered plants and animals that we can learn from and may help with future treatments. Okay, question 4. Which photo shows an epiphyte, a non-parasitic plant which grows on another plant? We have heard about this. Have a look at the photos. Which one is an epiphyte? Think about what you can see in the photo. Actually just showing us lots of different adaptations to this wonderful biome. Ideal growing conditions for plants. Absolutely right. Those people that said C, we can see a type of fern growing halfway up a tree. It hasn't got its roots in the soil. It doesn't need its roots in the soil because it's an epiphyte. It can grow on the surface of something else, a bit like the word epidermis. Question 5. What is a cause of deforestation? Is it A, conservation projects, B, ecotourism, C, logging, or D, sustainable development? What do you think? Well done to B, Louisa, Isha, and Benjamin. The answer's right. It's C. Well done. Question 6. What is a social impact of deforestation? Is it A, loss of species and extinction of endemic species? B, soil erosion? C, loss of lands for indigenous people? Or D, release of carbon dioxide from burning forests? So which of those is a social impact of deforestation, something having an impact on people or society. Lots of people saying C, but could C was the right answer last time. Can it be the right answer again? Yes, absolutely right. So people are concerned about the loss of lands for Indigenous people, whether they're undiscovered, uncontacted or not. And this has led to the creation of reserves if we think about something like the Peruvian or the Brazilian Amazon. Question 7. Which of these is the greatest cause of deforestation? Bit of revision here. Is it A, construction of hydroelectric dams and reservoirs, B, logging, C, commercial agriculture, or D, road building? Yes, it's tricky, outrageous octopus as to who's got the right answer first there. Can C be right again? I think it is right again. Commercial agriculture. We're revising what we've gone over. Well done. Some people are listening. Question 8. Name the process by which soluble nutrients drain away from lattisols of the tropical rainforest. Don't be worried about the word lattisols. That's just the type of soil that you get in a rainforest. But can we remember the name of the process by which the nutrients drain away? Is it surface runoff? Is it B, interception? Is it C, leaching? Or D, decay pathway? What's the name of the process where nutrients in the soil are washed away by that heavy rainfall? Look at the terminology there, soluble nutrients. So when nutrients are dissolved by rainfall. Some people can't believe it's C again. So they're going A, but the answer is C, leaching. Okay, leaching, typical of the tropical rainforest. Surface runoff, yes, there is a little bit of erosion that goes on with heavy rainfall, but the nutrients are dissolved in a process called leaching. Question 9. Which management strategy to reduce deforestation can we most effectively support from the UK? Is it A, purchasing wood items with Forest Stewardship Council mark on it? B, booking eco-tourist holidays? C, eating more tropical fruits? That sounds good. Or D, buying rubber products sourced from the tropical rainforest? What might be the most effective way for us in the UK to reduce deforestation? Think about what might be the problem with some of those, why they might not be actually helping with the problem of deforestation. Lots of people going A, and they're absolutely right. So the FSC, or the Forest Stewardship Council mark, is the one to look for. If your parents suggest they're going to buy some sort of hardwood table and chairs for the garden, you need to look out for that. Booking eco-tourist holidays could help, but of course you've still got the carbon footprint of getting to somewhere exotic like Ecuador or Costa Rica. Question 10. Thank you. Last one then. What is the term given to the interdependent relationships between different animal and plant species where each depend on one another? For example, the agouti, as we can see in the picture, and the Brazil nut tree. Is it A, a biotic relationship? B, abiotic? C, nutrient cycling? Or D, symbiotic? Have a go. It's the last one. Why doesn't everyone post something? There's a pattern. Lots of people are correct when they say it's D. It's a symbiotic relationship. And apparently the agouti is one of the few animals that is able to chew through the hard shell of a Brazil nut and will then scatter them and bury them. And that helps out the Brazil nut tree. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So really want to say thank you for joining us. It's been brilliant watching the chat. I've really enjoyed some of your conversations, but also so many of you getting correct answers. Next week, we're going to be focusing on cold environments, which is part of the living world. But what you may find out is that you don't study that one and you do hot deserts. So we're doing hot deserts the week after. But it would be lovely for everyone to tune in, even if you don't do cold environments, because I'm sure you'll have lots of fun. But so cold environments next week, hot deserts the week after. So thank you very much, Brendan and Alice, and I'll pass you over to Jim. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Suzanne. Brendan, Alice, fantastic session. I've got a pet agouti, but I can't find any Brazil nuts to feed it, so I need to go do some shopping after this. But Alice, when you were doing the MCQs, I remembered a dad joke. Shall I do it on the rainforest?
Yeah, go for that. Yeah.
Okay. Why are there no painkillers in the rainforest?
I don't know, Jim. Why are there no painkillers in the rainforest?
Because all the parrots eat them all. Anyway, on that note, if you enjoyed the session, apart from that last bit, give us a thumbs up because it really helps YouTube find this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get an alert for the next session and subsequent sessions. You can download all the slides from this by going to tutordu.net/live if you want to go through some of those questions again and have a look at that cute picture of the agouti at the end there. But for this session, huge thanks to Suzanne. Suzanne, let's have a look at that monkey again, just to wave goodbye to the pet monkey. To Brendan and to Alice. We'll see you all next week.
Right,
Thank
well
you.
done, everybody.
Well done.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.